Okay, episode 3 of Blur and Grain podcast. I'm so excited because today we're just going to dive right into it. My goal with this episode is that by the end of it, you feel like you learned some valuable insights. I want to be to the point. I want to be precise. I want to be direct. I want to say all of the things that I have in my mind and just share all of this information with you. So today we're going to be talking about practical tips to get started in your creative career or in your creative business or anything along. If you want to be a freelancer, photo, video, and design, if you want to start as an influencer, as a content creator, if you want to start posting more, if you want to put yourself out there, this is applicable. Everything that I'm going to say today is applicable to any of those instances. But the goal is that you feel like you know what you need to do in order to get started. I'm going to share all of the things that I have learned in my last 9 years in business, in my last 9 years doing creative things and building a creative career and establishing myself as a professional photographer and having my, photo and video businesses. Everything that I have learned and everything that I have learned from others during this time, I've kind of compiled 7, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 different tips or takeaways, or I don't really know what to call them, but 7 different keys that you can take and apply today if you're wanting to get started. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we are going to, like I just said, dive right in. So if you are a note taker, I highly recommend that you take some notes. I'm going to name by number every single thing that I call out, but I really think if you're following along, take some notes, take this as a lesson. Let's take this episode and kind of just rebrand it right here, right now, live, and let's take this as a lesson. Like if I'm teaching you a class or something like that. But I'm going to spitball, like I said, a lot of information that I have in my brain. So I highly encourage you to follow along and take some notes, okay? So let's get started. Number 1, if you want to get started today, right now, or have some sort of desire on getting started with building a creative career or doing anything in like digital marketing or putting yourself out there as an influencer or a content creator. Let's say you literally are working a full-time job in like healthcare or something like that. I don't know, super random. And you have a passion for something creative and you want to start maybe taking freelance photo or video or design clients. Number 1, whether it's that you're like doing a shift in your life or something like that, or you know that you want to pursue a creative career but you don't really know where to start. Number 1, the first thing that I would do right now is set some goals. Now here's a hot take. Make sure your goals are reasonable, okay? You can't set a goal like you have literally no portfolio right now, or you're barely getting started and your goal is like, oh, I want to make $100,000 in the next 12 months. What? No, let's scale it back. Let's be reasonable. Why don't you set a goal with like, okay, within a year from now, I want to make sure that I have booked 10 clients in this service that I'm providing. That feels more reasonable and measurable, okay? So make sure that you set some goals. And what I do personally is work backwards. I love to give myself action steps, like measurable action items that I can do. So let me give you an example. So let's say that my goal is that in the next 12 months, I want to have booked 10 destination weddings. I don't know, something like that. Well, what am I going to do with that? I'm going to work backwards. So I'm going to be like, okay, what do I need to do to get myself out there to do that? So the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, I need to start either connecting with destination wedding planners, or I need to start putting content out there of the destination weddings that I have already done. So you see how I just took that huge goal of like booking 10 weddings of this precise caliber and taking it all the way back to what can I start doing tomorrow that can set myself up to achieve that goal. And I just named 2 things off the top of my head: connecting with planners and starting to put content out there of different destination weddings that I have done. Those are just 2 of the probably 5 other things that I can really sit down and plan and measure out, things that I can start doing immediately. So if you want to get started with anything, set some goals, make sure that they are realistic, and work backwards to make sure that you don't just have a goal, but you also have an action item that you can start acting on tomorrow to help you get to that goal. Now, in your day and age, currently right now in present time, you have access to ChatGPT, YouTube tutorials, this podcast right here, different things. 9 years ago, none of that podcasts and YouTube tutorials did exist. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't have an easy way. Like ChatGPT is literally like, you can literally work with them right now, and you can say, I want to start a creative career in photography. I want to set 3 goals that I can accomplish in the next 10 to 12 months. Can you help me break that down? And you have that resource available for you. So no matter what it is that you want to do, the first thing you have to do is set some goals and work backwards, okay? Number 2, this is key, and I don't want to get too nitty-gritty in like the brain of a marketer, but this is very, very important, and that is you have to establish your target audience. That's one of the first things that you want to do if you want to get started in anything that requires any sort of booking process, people hiring you, you getting clients, you working with brands, people reaching out to you. You have to establish your target audience. This is key, so you know how to market to your target audience. And you have to try to get as specific as you possibly can be. So I'm going to give you an example. A year ago, I launched a passion project of sorts, of like an apparel company. It's called June 6. I honestly couldn't keep up with it at that time that I launched it. Like, it's been a very busy 12 months of my life, and when you are wanting to put clothes out there, you have to like constantly be like designing and coming up with ideas and talking to manufacturers, and I just did not have the bandwidth to continue to scale that. However, I do hope to have that in the future. But anyways, so when I was working on my plan for June 6th, I literally did a deep dive into who do I want to target, because I want to make sure that I communicate very, very specifically to this person that I want to target. And I did this whole research on like how brands do it, and I basically got as nitty gritty as like, my target audience is going to be like 28-year-old females that have these interests. They're likely to get a coffee in the morning, and they're likely to want to go to Pilates after work. And I just started building this like profile for this target customer that I had, this target person that I wanted to be able to communicate very clearly to. And that helped me kind of create some of the content that I had. And I didn't even put out everything that I had in my brain for this project, but I know that like I had so much. This was one of my first projects and businesses where I'm like, I got so in the nitty gritty with my target audience, and I only did one one launch, but I was able to get people that bought my product that I did not know. Like, I feel like once you launch something and you get people that aren't your friends and family buying it, like, you kind of feel like you are doing something good, right? Okay, so let's say you're a designer or a photographer or a videographer, right? And you set yourself the goal that you want to book, 12 clients within the next 6 months or something like that. Well, you have to figure out who is your target audience. So your target audience may be local business owners. You can niche down even more and say, I want to work exclusively with restaurants, or I want to work exclusively with apparel companies, or I want to work exclusively with marketing agencies or creative agencies. You have to define who it is that your target audience is. Now, it's totally okay if your target audience is a little broader. Let's say you want to work with restaurants and apparel companies exclusively, something like that. But you have to figure out who it is that your target audience is, because that's how you're going to be able to market yourself based on what those characteristics are. So get very nitty gritty with defining who it is that you want to target, because the content that you create and the way that you position yourself is going to be very dependent on who you are trying to communicate to. This is very easy. Like, this is kind of like the basics and fundamentals of marketing, right? So my husband and I have different interests. So there are things that appeal to me that don't appeal to him, and there are things that appeal to him that don't appeal to me. So he may get an ad for a product and feels enticed, and he clicks and he makes a purchase. I may get that same ad and I am absolutely not going to click because I don't have that interest. So what happened there is that brand or that company found their target audience in my husband. They were able to appeal to him in a very specific way that they could not appeal to me. They crafted their content, they crafted that ad in a way that made him click. It may not have necessarily made me click, but they were able to define who their target was in the persona or in the character of like who my husband is. So we have to do that every single day as business owners, as creatives who are wanting to get more clients. That is something that we have to constantly be thinking about. Every single with the way that you communicate and with the things that you're putting out, you have to be thinking to yourself, is this going to appeal to the people that I am trying to target? So make sure that you have that in your mind as you are starting out, because that's what's going to help you initially get those clients and initially put yourself out there. So that's number 2. Number 1 was set some goals and work backwards. Number 2 is establish your target audience. Number 3 is create a brand and a visual identity, even if it's simple. So let's say you're getting started, right? You have identified who your target audience is and how you want to market yourself. And then you have identified some of the goals that you want to hit in the next 12 months. Well, now you need a brand and a visual identity to go with that. So this means like establishing your brand name, creating a logo, working on, even if you don't have a lot of resources, right, to go pay a graphic designer to get you this huge brand guide or something like that. Well, make sure that you have a logo, you have a name, you have some colors, you have some fonts, because this is going to help you establish yourself in a more professional way. One of the literal most common mistakes that I see in people that are starting out, freelancers specifically, photo video designers that are starting out and wanting to put themselves out there to get clients, is that they don't position themselves in a very professional way. A lot of people start with their just personal Instagrams, and I don't have actually, is this a hot take? I don't know if this is a hot take, but I'm a big fan, and if you know me, you know that I have 1 million Instagram accounts. So I'm not trying to get you to do 1 million Instagram accounts, but I'm a big fan of separating your personal life from your professional life. So I vouch for making sure that your personal Instagram remains your personal Instagram. This is where you can literally post about your dogs and your nieces and your nephews and what you're having for breakfast. And that is separate from the work that you are, putting out there, where you're positioning yourself in a totally different way. So creating that brand is so important, because you can curate, the posts that you're putting up on social media in a way that makes you stand out and makes you look professional. And along with those posts is, what's the brand voice like? What is my logos like? What is my colors? Am I putting graphics out there? How does my website looking like? All of those things make a bigger difference than you probably assume at the beginning that it will make. So don't neglect the importance of this. Okay, I neglected the importance of this at the beginning. I was just taking photos and putting them out there, and people didn't necessarily want to hire me because they hit my Instagram and I'm having a photo of the salmon that I cooked for dinner the night before, and then my dog at the park, and then I post a carousel of photo shoot pics. Why would somebody, the professional people that I wanted to target were not necessarily appealed or compelled to hire me based off of what that was looking like at the time, right? So don't neglect this step, even if it is a very simple brand name, even if it's a simple logo, a simple color palette, simple wording that you put on your website. Whatever it is, make sure that you establish yourself. You are creating a brand. So I'm gonna name everything as I move on to the next one. So number 1, set some goals and work backwards. Number 2, establish your target audience. Number 3, create a brand and visual identity, even if it's simple. Number 4, position your brand in a way that's aligned to your target audience. So now we are literally working with number 2 and number 3 together. And I made that as an additional step as number 4, because this is literally what is going to tie everything together for you and what is key if you are starting out. So what does this actually mean? Positioning your brand in a way that is aligned to your target audience. Well, this entails the full build out of this project that you are starting. You have to create social media pages. You have to start working on your portfolio. You have to start working on your website. You have to start working on your email signature. What is that going to look like? What are you linking out to? You have to position yourself in a way that appeals to your target audience, and you have to start taking that measurable step sooner or later. You can be incredibly talented, but how are people going to find you, and where are you pointing them towards when they do find you? That is important. Where are people going to click? So let's say someone randomly stumbles upon your reel. You made a reel whether it is a reel of you designing, a reel of you taking photos, a video that you created. Let's say you put some content out there on the internet and then people hit your Instagram grid. What do they find when they get there? How can they hire you? How can they contact you? They're probably going to hit the link in your bio. Where is that sending them to? Is that sending them to a website that shows them more of your work, that continues to compel them to hire you? Or do you have nothing there? Or when they try to find more of your work, where is it? Exactly. You know, a lot of people, especially if you are starting out, your Instagram feed may not be fully fleshed out. They may not be able to get more than 3 scrolls in and see that you just started. So you have to have a secondary place where they can see who you really are, when they can read about you. This is why websites and portfolios are so important. There's always an about me section. There's always a how to contact me section. There's always a section that shows your previous work. This builds your credibility, so when people hit your page, they know more about you and are so more compelled to want to hire you and want to bring you on. So it's not just about establishing your target audience, and it's not just about establishing your brand. It's about how you position your brand and how these key little things are working together. You can't really do one without the other. What's the point of having a target audience if you have nowhere to point them to? Exactly. And what's the point of having a cool looking brand if you're not targeting the specific people that you want? Exactly. So step number, tip, or I guess I'm calling these tips, tip number 2 and tip number 3 can't really work without the other, and they can't really work with tip number 4, which is what ties everything together, making sure that you are establishing yourself well. So you're going to go ahead and build that website, build that portfolio, make sure you have enough Instagram posts on your feed that reflect the type of work that you want to showcase, so people can kind of see what they're getting themselves into when they hit your page. And that in itself, those 3 things in itself are going to put you light years ahead from a lot of people that start out. The biggest mistake that I see people do is that they just are like, oh yeah, I'm starting as a freelancer, I'm starting as a photographer, I'm starting as a videographer, etc. And they make this cryptic Instagram page where they have 2 or 3 teaser posts on their feed of they're teasing that they're announcing that they are starting, and then that's it. You click on their website and it's yet another teaser vibe where it's coming soon. And it's okay, well, what makes you think that I want to hire you? I don't see any of your work. Honestly, just being direct and straight up with that. I don't see any of your work. I don't see any testimonials or anything. I don't know anything about you. There's no photo of you anywhere. I don't know what you have done in the past, and you want me to hire you just because you did 3 cool looking teaser posts? Yeah, how? I mean, but that is the hype that goes around these days, right? That it's you have to be cryptic and you have to be cool and you have to do all these things. Well, that only works if you already have some sort of following. But if you don't have a following and you're wanting to build a following from scratch, that's not really going to get you far, and that's not really going to get you clients, and that's not really going to get you bookings. So it's really important that you have these things. Please don't neglect building your website and establishing your brand well, and making sure that that is tailored to your target audience. Okay, I don't want to repeat myself too much, so I'm going to move on to the next one. I feel like I could stay there and repeat the same couple things. Okay, number 5. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start posting content. Okay, number 5 is super easy. So let's say I'm going backwards all the way back because I feel like I need to teach this lesson very well. Let's say you've set your goals, you've established your target audience, you created your brand visual identity, and you started to position your brand in a very key way. Now you need to start posting and you need to start creating content. Now, I can have a whole episode just about developing a content strategy, which I will later on in this season. So stay tuned for that. It's not as easy. I understand that it's not as easy as just starting to post. But at the very beginning, that's literally the best tip that I can give you. Take whatever it is that you are making, whatever it is that you're working on, and start posting. Whether you're literally editing photos, take a time lapse of you editing this photo, make a reel, post it. Edit 5 photos, put them into a collage, post it. Deliver a gallery, put on your story. Just delivered this gallery, post it. If you're working on some sort of design for a client, another idea, make a time lapse of you doing the design, put a song over it, make it into a reel, post it. Get as much content as you can out there, because this is only going to increase your credibility with your potential future client and with anybody that hits your page. Now, keep this in mind. People may hit your page and choose to follow. They're not booking you right now, but once they've decided to follow you, you don't know if you can turn that person and that follower into a client later down the line. So this is why it's important to continue to post. When I started, I would get criticized because I was doing this a little bit before it was normal and a little bit before it was common. I remember one person telling me, like, why are you posting on your stories every single time that you're like delivering a gallery or editing a gallery? And in my mind back then, I was doing that strategically. I was doing that because I was like, I need to show people that I am working. I need to show people that I am gaining clients. I need to show people that I am active and that I am busy, because 9 times out of 10, once someone slides into like my DMs, or when someone sends me an email, or when someone is trying to book me, the first thing that they're telling me is, hey, I know you're busy right now, but I wanted to see if I can get on your calendar. Exactly. That was a strategic move in my part, to be showing that I am busy and be showing that I am doing stuff, because it's making the people that follow me see that I am active in my field and that I am getting clients. And I am in their face with how busy I was at the time. And guess what? I got so many emails and so many inquiries and so many people saying, oh, I saw on your story you were working on this, or like, I know you're busy, can you fit me into your schedule? I was able to kind of strategically use that to my advantage. So, and that was like 8 years ago, right? When it was, and I remember, actually, it's a fun fact, I would literally do the boomerangs. This is when boomerangs were big on Instagram stories, and I would literally do a boomerang of me like editing and be like, delivering this gallery this morning, I'm so excited. And like, it was kind of cliche and it was kind of cheesy, but it brought me a lot of work and it showed people that I was busy and that I was active. So you need to start posting right away every single thing that you are doing. And remember, done is better than perfect. This is the motto of the season. This is the way that I am living my life at this moment. And even if you don't have the most aesthetically pleasing feed and posts and content on your website, it doesn't matter. But the more that you post, the more people are going to trust that you can do that work, and the more that you position yourself in a way to get clients. So that's number 5. Number 6 is be sharp with your audience. So let's say you've set some goals, you've established your target audience, you created a brand and visual identity, you've positioned your brand in a way that's aligned to your target audience, and you are actively posting. You're in that stage now where you're actively posting. Number 6 is, now that you are posting and now that you're starting to gain a little bit of traction, you have to be sharp with your audience. This is different depending on the field and the business that you are starting, but let's say you want to start as a photographer, videographer, designer. This is like a freelancer. This is the main example that I'm using in this. Well, you're going to get more clients if you are sharp and provide good customer service to the clients that you do get, because guess what? Word of mouth is everything. We built our entire photo and wedding video business on word of mouth referrals, on providing good customer service, on providing the absolute best service that we could, on networking. I mean, we would do weddings and we would just be nice and flexible and understanding. And it wasn't long before a bridesmaid of the wedding that we just shot, or the cousin or the relative of the bride and groom, reached out to us 2, 3, 4, 5 months later because they enjoyed the service that we provided. This same foundation, like the same fundamental, is applicable to anything else that you do. So let's say you're a designer and you just did some work for a small business owner. Well, if that small business owner has other small business owner friends, if they just felt pleased with your work and you provided such a great service, they're more likely to recommend you. So it's really important that you do that now. Let's say you are an influencer, right? And you want to start as an influencer, you want to start being like a content creator and posting, a TikTok content creator or something like that. That means like responding to your comments, engaging with your audience, being friendly, being nice, treating people like they're humans and not just someone that's giving you a like or a comment or a share. That's going to go a long way because you're going to build a connection with your audience, and that's going to compel them to want to, continue to engage with you. So this is very, very important. I cannot stress enough the importance of being sharp with your audience. This is something that is free for you to do. You don't have to spend money on doing it, and you're going to see a return on that effort right away. And number 7, perfect your craft. Let's go all the way back like I have done this entire episode. Let's say you want to get started and you set some goals and you're working backwards. You establish your target audience. You created a brand and a visual identity. You're positioning your brand in a way that's aligned. You start posting. You're sharp with your clients, with your followers. Now you have to perfect your craft. Number 7 is you've put in all of this work. You've done all of the 6 steps. Now you're here and it's like, where do I go now? Well, now you just work. Put in the work. Get your reps in, like we talked on the last episode with Scheider. Now you just got to keep on going. You got to keep on posting, and you got to be consistent. You did not just put all this work just to let everything fall into the abyss. I have done this multiple times. There's so many projects and things that I've started that then I just dropped in the middle. And that is 100% the reason why I never saw success in that project in the first place. So if you want to see success in this project that you are thinking of launching, you have to work on perfecting your craft. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the grind, and you have to be consistent. There is no way that you just do 9 posts on your feed and that you launch a website / portfolio and then you never post and that you never try to get better and that all your content continues to look the same. You weren't consistent and then you fell off. What are you going to see? That people aren't booking you and that, people aren't recommending you, etc., etc., etc. So all of the work that you're putting in these first 6 steps is really only valuable if you make the promise to yourself that you're going to be consistent. I would say you have to give it at least 12 to 18 months of daily grind to then be able to really see the return on all of your efforts. Remember that these things take time. I mean, look, I'm on episode 3 of my podcast. By the time I start to see some sort of like bigger numbers and downloads and all of that stuff, it's not in this 4th episode or 5th episode. It's going to be down the line when I have consistently been doing this for a while and people feel like they can trust me and my voice and my opinion and the things that I have to share with them, right? So that is just the simple foundations of life. That's like simple math. That's like 1 + 1 = 2. You can't just position yourself in a certain way and then fall off and expect people to continue to look for you or book you by any means. So these 7 things are key, and I truly believe that these 7 things can help you get started as soon as today. That means that tomorrow you have to get up and commit to doing the work and start with your goals, start figuring out who your target audience is, start trying to build a brand. And I truly believe that this work that you put in at the beginning, you're going to see the fruit of down the line. And think about this. You only put in this amount of work once, right? Once you already are up and running or establishing yourself, all you have to do after that is kind of just start tweaking and fine tuning and refining, to continue to get to the place that you want to be. So these are the 7 practical tips that I had for you. I know I just spoke really fast, probably faster than I have ever spoken in my life. But I'm literally so committed to giving you all of this information as fast as I possibly can give it to you in a no fluff and direct way. Okay, so before this episode closes, I do want to tell you a little tea time story. Let's transition our minds to tea time. And I was thinking, okay, what can I share around this vibe of like starting out and how to get started, etc., etc., etc. And I couldn't really think of anything specific to that, but I was able to think of the specific. I remember this, and I'm probably going to share this multiple times in this first season or multiple times during this first podcast, but I vividly remember the moment that everything changed in my business. And this was when I was really, really I was so committed on having a 6-figure business. I was like, I need to get out of the 5 figures. I was like, I've done this for long enough and I want to get to the next level. What can I do? And all of the tips that I shared with you today is because I did all of these things. And even when I felt like I hit a plateau, I did all these things again. And I reestablished myself in my business because I wanted to reach a new level. So I remember I was super annoyed, and I'm just gonna be like blunt and honest because that's what tea time is all about, right? I was booking the same type of weddings in this venue that I just could not stand. And I kept every inquiry that I got, it kept hitting to this venue. And I was like, I do not want to work in this venue anymore. It is orange in there, it looks like a barn, and I just can't. And I just can't do it. How the heck do I get out of these clients? And I was like, okay, well, I have to raise my prices so that I weed out of this type of client that I don't want. But I'm like, but how do I establish myself at this rate? Because I can't just jump in pricing. I'm like, I need to be able to establish myself. And this thought process led me to literally a full factory reset. I created a whole entire new website. I changed my editing style. I did research and I bought courses on positioning myself as a luxury wedding photographer. I mean, I put in the work. It took months, and you can talk to anybody that I was working with in that season. I mean, I rewrote every single line of copy on my website. I started doing styled shoots so that I could show more of that luxury type of work. I started offering engagement sessions or bridal sessions complimentary with specific people that I wanted to, or specific different models or influencers within Houston. And I was like, I need to get to the next level, and I need to position myself in a way that would make it a no-brainer for people to book me at this higher rate. And in order for me to do that, I need to get to work. And so I went through this deep season of like grind. I was like going up to bed I was going to sleep super late. I was like rewriting things. I was like re-editing pictures. It took me forever to find new tones, but I was like, I need to find tones that are cleaner. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I finally launched this website, and to my surprise, I remember getting my first booking at my new rate, and I literally shed a tear. And I was like, it worked. It worked. I'm like, I got a booking. People are willing to pay this much for this service that 6 months ago I was charging half of that for. And with this exact like methodology or something, with this exact like strategy that I established for myself, I was able to get our business to the first year of making 6 figures. This was around, I don't know, 2021 it may have been, so 4 years ago. And it was post-COVID, and COVID kind of helped us do like a reset in the business, honestly, in a way. But I remember I was like, we've already done this for a couple years. I want this specific wedding business to hit the 6-figure mark, and these are all of the things that I did. And it all has to do with every single tip that I shared with you today. It was about setting myself the goal to start booking higher paying clients. It was about establishing my target audience. My target audience was, I want to book more high-end clients and more high-end weddings. So I need to market myself to that target audience. So then I already had a brand, but I rebranded. Even if it was simple, but I rebranded. Tip number 3, create a brand. I rebranded at this moment in time. And I was like, what do I need to do? And I changed everything from the ground up to position myself this way. Number 4, position your brand in a way that's aligned to your target audience. That was literally what I did. I redid the website. I redid the feed. I redid even the bio. I redid the inquiry form. I redid the pricing page. I redid everything so that I could make sure that when people reached out to me, they felt as if they were having a more professional and luxurious experience, because that was my target audience at the time. Number 5, start posting. I re-curated my entire Instagram feed to more so reflect this new style that I was going for. Number 6, be sharp with your audience, friendly with clients, building a community. Every single inquiry that I got, I made sure that it was responded to within 1 hour to 2 hours of it hitting my inbox. I made sure that my responses were personable and didn't feel automated. I made sure that I was following up. I made sure that I was offering help where I could, whether it's bringing down the rate of the engagement session or whatever it is that I had to do. When I was doing photos, I was making sure that, and I was doing shoots, I was making sure that I was delivering the galleries on time, delivering the most high quality photos that I could, fixing the things that I could in the edits, making sure that I was paying attention to the details, and then perfecting your craft. After that, I just started rinse and repeat, doing all of these things. And that's ultimately what led me to my first six-figure year in business, was doing everything that I just told you today to get started. And maybe you have a business and you feel like it's time for a refresh and you feel like it's time for a revamp. These 7 things are still applicable in that order to get you to that place. I didn't necessarily start doing these 7 things, but I did hit that plateau moment in my business where I then did these 7 things and it helped me to go to the next level. So I feel like these tips are really applicable for any position that you find yourself in, whether wanting to start right now and having nothing, or wanting to reestablish yourself in any sort of way. So that's my little tea time story, getting to a 6-figure year and all of the different behind the scenes things that I did and I focused on. And I really want to deep dive into an episode later, I think in the season, where I talk all about, scaling your business and getting to that next level, right? And I can, like I said, I can do a whole episode about that. So I probably will at one point, but I really hope that all of the things that I shared today were valuable. I would love to continue the conversation. So please send me a DM at Blur and Grain Podcast or at Sarah Asensio with only one A in between my first name and last name. Send me a DM, leave me a comment, ask me any questions. I am so happy to help. I am happy to continue the conversation, and I want to have these conversations with you, and I want to be able to provide as much value as I possibly can. So thank you so much for following along in this episode where I literally just spilled half of my brain into this 30 minutes, I think it was. And I'm excited because in the next episode, I have yet another special guest, and we're going to have a really, really, really fun and exciting convo. So follow me along on Instagram, like I said, at Sarah Asensio and at Blur and Grain Podcast. Subscribe to the Blur and Grain Podcast YouTube. Leave me a comment in there as well. Put a thumbs up, turn on the post notifications on for any of my pages if you want to stay updated. And I'm so excited for the next episode, and I'll see you then.